It's the second to last Friday in October, believe it or not, and it's Peet and Reet on the Friday Wrap.
Hello.
We're in the kitchen.
Welcome to my kitchen.
Well, thank you. I have to be in the mood to cook, just so you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you're cooking.
Oh.
I'm not making you dinner.
What do I got to cook? What are we cooking?
Chateaubriand.
Chateaubriand.
Yes.
Did you make some butter tarts, like you promised? So you said if you come down to the kitchen.
I did not.
Oh. So you got me down here under false pretense.
I did.
To cook.
I did.
All right, I'll cook something up. So what's been? Oh, you know what's been going on? Before I came here to the studio, this isn't the studio though. We're not in the studio. We're actually in your house.
Yeah.
We're in your kitchen. Right?
In my
This isn't the
kitchen.
set. This is actually your kitchen,
Yeah,
which
it
is
is.
beautiful. I had an MRI this morning.
How'd that go?
I'm claustrophobic.
Oh, no.
I'm really claustrophobic.
Oh, that's horrible.
So the guy asked me just before I went, he says, "Are you claustrophobic?" I said, "Yeah. Ever since I was locked in a trunk by my brother, I've been claustrophobic."
Oh, great.
So
Nice brother.
yeah, and I remember just like pounding this thing trying to get out, and I couldn't get out. So I'm really claustrophobic. So they start sliding you in, and you just had one recently too,
Yeah,
right?
I
And
did.
it's no problem.
Yeah. No, I fall asleep in
And
there.
all of a sudden, the sound starts to go away a little bit, and then you start to see the end, and I had to close my eyes. And I just did like a lot of praying. I didn't want to open my eyes. I couldn't move. Like I was stuck in there.
Yeah, you're a big guy, and even me, I kind of touch the sides, and I'm not that big.
I pulled my hands in, kept them in, because I said, if I touch the sides, if I look up, I'm done, right? I'm finished. And then my nose starts to itch.
Oh, no.
My nose starts to itch.
Oh, of
Now-
course it does.
And you can't move, and you're like, and then I said, is my neck stiff? Can I move my neck? Oh, don't breathe. Oh, I'm running out of breath.
Oh, that when they tell you to do that, I think that too. In my head, I'm like, when are they going to tell me to breathe again? When are they going to tell me to breathe? Yeah, it's a weird feeling.
So I had a gallbladder surgery about a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's still feeling like there's a gallbladder there. So I went for an MRI this morning, and yeah, I mean, the people were great. And I had to have some dye put in.
Right.
So I'm drinking lots of water, going to the bathroom a lot now.
Is it blue?
No, there's no color to it, so who knows? Maybe it's radioactive. But when they first put that in, I smelled like ether.
Oh, yeah?
I go, I smell ether. I thought, are they putting me out, right? She goes, oh, it's funny because somebody else said they smelled something when we put it in too,
I
right?
just feel all like warm and fuzzy when it goes in.
Yeah, I felt a little warm and fuzzy, but I was so glad to get out of there. And you know, the first part of it was like, I thought, because I had my eyes closed, it's like, and I thought it was like
yeah.
submarine. Now I'm in a submarine and we're going down, and the mind starts going, right? And I'm going, no.
Boom, boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom,
bang, bang.
boom, boom.
And you say you can sleep in there. There's
Yeah.
no way. I was
Yeah.
never happier than when they said, you're coming out.
Oh, you're like, thank
I got out and
you.
I was like,
I survived it. I survived it.
So, I mean, it's all in your head. It really is. And believe me, I had to just take my mind away from where I was, because I
Right.
was in there for 30 minutes. Actually, it was a longer 30
Wow.
minutes. It was a long, long time.
Wow,
So
that is long.
we had some heartbreaking news this week. We knew he was going, but even still, doesn't make it easy when he does his tour. And you know he's going with terminal brain cancer, but Gord Downie.
Yeah, that tour, the last show that he had was so watched. And I mean, his speech at the end made me cry.
I know.
I mean, you know, it's so heartfelt, and he really loved his fans. And so,
And they said every aspect of his life he tried to be really good at. Being a father, being in the band, you know, being a husband, being a friend, being a brother, you know.
right.
He
Except
worked-
his single album, not good.
yeah. Now, my favorite song, Bob Cajun. I don't know why.
Oh, yeah, that's a great song.
I love Bob Cajun. And everybody thinks that's an easy song to sing.
Right.
But it really isn't, is
No,
it?
no, it's not.
Yeah.
He's great, though. And I liked Wheat Kings. It's one of my
Yeah.
songs that I liked. of
Yeah,
theirs.
so, and he, of course, was a Bruins fan. All great people are Bruins fans. You probably didn't know. Even though your Leafs have been
Of
winning
course,
lately,
of
right?
course. Yay!
But he went, of course, last year, he went to the Bruins game, and then Bobby Orr called him.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Bobby Orr's a class act,
Yeah.
though. You know.
Super class act, and Bobby Orr told him, you know, what a great thing he's done for Canada, bringing the name around the world, and the great things he's done for the environment, because he was always standing up for the environment, and so he didn't know how to. He says, it's the first time I was like, I couldn't
Speechless?
speak. I was speechless. He goes, this is my hero talking to me, right?
Right.
And he said, I love you, Bobby. And he goes, I'm pretty sure, but it was Bobby Orr. He said he loved me too.
Not too shabby,
Yeah,
not too
so
shabby.
sorry to see him go.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
Another great one has passed on. And then speaking of people who aren't great, Weinstein. I mean, the stories just
Harvey
keep
Weinstein,
coming.
yeah.
You know what? I truly, remember I said in the last show, he was going to get help. I don't think he is.
I don't think he
I
is
think
either.
he's
I
so
think he's
arrogant.
lying.
Yeah, because they say they found him now. When he said he was going to get off to see whoever he's going to see, he ended up in some 5-star hotel. He is just not going to change.
No.
And
Actually, Jim's ex, Lauren Hawley,
from Dumb and Dumber?
yes, was
Yeah.
on The View, and she was talking about how her encounter with him, and she went to his apartment because he wanted to see her talk about doing movies and stuff like that, and he came out wearing nothing, and got in her face and said, if you want to further your career, you'll, not tell anybody about this, and so she pushed him and ran out.
Wow. I mean, so many stories about what, it was the same thing at the end. Oh, you're not going to tell anybody about this, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's all over Hollywood, and Ben Affleck's getting little chips at him now too, because a few more stories are coming out about him. Like it's rampant in Hollywood. It is. It's a terrible place.
Very sad.
And when it's unfortunate that you really don't think enough of yourself, that you think you have to be a big star, so this is what I have to do. And I guess a lot of it went through a lot of the actresses' minds. Even Reese Witherspoon, right?
Right.
Said that you.
Well, you hear about that kind of thing, oh, you got your job because you slept on the couch with the producer or whatever. And clearly it happens more than you think.
Yeah, well, you had a little incident, right?
I did. There was a gentleman in Toronto who does all kinds of Playboy and stuff like that. And he had bands and he invited me to go there because I was looking for a manager. And I walked in the front door and I'm standing there and he walks by in his underwear. And I'm like, I'm out of here. And then he called me back. He goes, I didn't know you were there. So I get escorted into his kitchen and I'm sitting there and he comes walking out in his underwear again. So I just went, listen, this is not how I do business. And I left.
I don't even know how you can do that. I don't even know how you can have the cojones to walk out like that or do those things.
Well, because you think you're so good, big and good and that I would want, a manager like that. Are you kidding me? No.
And you look at Harvey. I mean, he's not a good-looking guy, right?
No.
So, you know what? Clean up Hollywood. I hope this sets the new pace for Hollywood and
That'd be
cleans
nice.
it up. It would.
That really would be nice.
People get hired on their talents, and then you had so many people who didn't do it who never made it anywhere. There was a Vietnamese girl, right, who was coming in to do a show, and he was going to show her. Comes out in a towel. He was going to show her how to do a love scene. And she quit acting. She went back to Vietnam and quit acting because of it. So
yeah, scary.
Shame on you,
stuff.
Harvey. Shame on you. I hope you get the help that you truly and honestly need, and the rest of Hollywood as well. So.
Yeah. Coming up on the Friday Wrap, we have Boy Scouts and Dr. Rigsby.
Rigsby. Now that's a really cool story. But before we head to break,
Okay.
we got Richie Durwald Sr.
Oh, right.
Who did a little piece for us, right?
Yes.
And he was out at the Mandalay Bay the night before the shooting, and him and his wife, she wanted to stay for the shooting. He's going to talk about that and also some of the ideas he has for Richie coming up. So let's have a look at that right now.
Hi, Peet and Reet. This is Richard. I'm Richie Durwald's father, who's now doing the weight loss. This is Richie's mother, my wife, Maureen. Last week we had occasion to go to Las Vegas. We stayed at the Mandalay Bay. Fortunately, we checked out on Saturday, the day before the concert.
Which I had asked him if we could go to the concert. Oh
No,
my
and
God.
fortunately we did not. And coming so close, some people have asked me, I guess a lot of people have asked me, mentally, how did you handle that? And I'd like to talk about that on the next segment of the Peet and Reet Show. Hi, Peet and Reet. This is Richard. And as I told you, many people have asked me, how did you handle coming so close to that tragedy at the Mandalay Bay? And all I can say is I'm going to revert to something that I learned when I was very, very young from Bernard McFadden and his philosophy of transform your body, transform your life. I'm using this hourglass as an example that he used. The top of the hourglass represents the future. The bottom of the hourglass represents the past. The most important part of this hourglass is right here, because that's now, today. And that's the only real reality that we have. I personally believe and have observed that people that live and worry about the future and people who dwell in the past, mostly about unpleasant things, are subject to anxiety, depression, and of course they're never really truly happy. The only road to happiness is this little neck of the hourglass that represents today. Right now, today, I'm concentrating on helping Richie lose his weight, make his goals, so all the people in the US and Canada can see what transform your body, transform your life really means.
Thanks, Mr. Fitness.
Yeah.
I always got some inspirational things to say.
Exactly.
Richie will be back next week, and I talked to him.
Mm-hmm.
He is now, he's going to get into the Elvis costume.
He's
Full force.
Yeah, because he said New Year's he wants to be able to fit into it. So start the new year off right.
Yeah.
He'll look like Elvis in the new year. That's not too shabby.
Yeah, that's a good way to go, right? Boy Scouts, and here we go again with political correctness. The Boy Scouts of America are now allowing girls to come in to be a part of the Boy Scouts. I totally disagree with it.
Well, they have Girl Scouts. What's the point?
Exactly. And can a boy go and be a Girl Scout? No.
Probably not.
I remember when I was in news.
If they're going to do that, then combine both and call it Boys and Girl Scouts.
Yeah. But is there anything wrong with girls being girls and boys being boys?
No.
I mean, what's wrong with having things that we don't do together? Because we do have differences. We really do.
Oh,
and it's
for
not
sure.
just, biologically. We think differently. We need to be with the guys. You need to be with the girls. And there's clubs that should be just for boys, and there's clubs that should be just for girls.
And there are things that you can do together as well.
So I totally disagree. I understand their numbers are down, but you know what? I don't think you should be doing it. If you want to bring like the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts together and I think they do, don't they?
Yeah,
I
think they do.
They do stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I think you should leave it. I remember when I was back in news, right? When they had where female news reporters were complaining because they couldn't get in the male locker rooms, right?
Right.
And so I said, well, I was doing, what was I doing? I was doing tennis, the Rogers Cup. And I asked if I could go into the girls' change room. Oh, you can't go in there. I said, well, why not? I said, I'm not getting the story, but they are. So, I mean, it's just it becomes an unfair world.
Yeah.
Right? Anyways, that's my vote. If you think different, comment section's right below. And
Exactly.
You can write back.
Write
to
us.
So this next video I saw on Facebook, I think it's got like 4.5 million views, right? And I saw it, and I was like, I don't feel like watching this. And something told me, gotta watch this, right? So Dr. Rick Rigsby is speaking in front of a convocation in the States. I believe it was Texas. And I saw it, and then I shared it with you.
Yeah,
and
it was great.
I said, you've
Yeah.
got to see this,
Yeah.
right? If you are having any kind of problem in your life getting direction,
This will set you straight.
And there's so many surprises in it, but we're going to give you a little clip right now that you can watch, okay?
Wisest person I ever met in my life. A third grade dropout. Wisest and dropout in the same sentence is rather oxymoronic. Like jumbo shrimp. Like fun run. Ain't nothing fun about it. Like Microsoft Works. Y'all don't hear me. I used to say like country music, but I've lived in Texas so long, I love country music now. I hunt, I fish, I have cowboy boots and y'all, I'm a black neck redneck. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? No longer oxymoronic for me to say country music. And it's not oxymoronic for me to say third grade and dropout. That third grade dropout, the wisest person I ever met in my life, who taught me to combine knowledge and wisdom to make an impact, was my father. A simple cook. Wisest man I ever met in my life. Just a simple cook. Left school in the third grade to help out on the family farm, but just because he left school doesn't mean his education stopped. Mark Twain once said, I've never allowed my schooling to get in the way of my education. My father taught himself how to read, taught himself how to write, decided in the midst of Jim Crowism, as America was breathing the last gasp of the Civil War, my father decided he was going to stand and be a man. Not a black man, not a brown man, not a white man, but a man.
I absolutely love that. I mean,
Yeah.
a man, right? Not of any color.
No,
we are all men and women.
A human being. Period.
Absolutely. And we're going to play the whole thing at the end of the Friday wrap. I want you to watch the whole thing. There's some heart-jerking
And then
surprises
show
in
it to
there.
all your friends.
Yeah, and it's gonna, you know what? It's gonna make a better world. This guy's amazing. I talked to his secretary yesterday after I saw it. I said, I gotta
Right.
get this guy on, and trying to get him on our show.
Nice.
So yeah, that'll be something to look forward to. So
Very
that's
cool.
a great story. Then I want to go into, and I'm sorry for you people who watch us around the world. Sometimes we get back into our politics, but we have to sometimes.
Yeah.
And you know, if you've got something going on in your neck of the world with your politics, send it to us, and we'll
Yeah,
talk
let
about
us
that too.
know
We'll even
what you
bring
don't
on.
like, what
Yeah.
you like.
Absolutely. But the Premier, who is in charge of the province of Ontario in Canada, her name is
Kathleen Wynne.
I have a hard time even saying her name. Anyways, she's now advertising. Okay, and well, we're going to show you. Let's have a look at this pic. So the pic is up. There you can see it. And that's Kathleen sitting in a store. It's a halal store.
Right.
And she's sitting with a guy. His name is Mashhood.
Mashhood.
I believe that's how you
Yeah.
say it. With somebody sitting on his lap. We don't know who it is. Now, Mashhood went to Ottawa University, couldn't afford it, came back to Toronto, and is working in a store and trying to make it. But he's found some free courses online so that he can graduate,
Right, good for him.
So she's sitting there, and if you look at her, let's bring that picture up again. If you look at her, she is sitting so far away from this person. I mean, looking totally uncomfortable. And guess what? You're paying. You are paying for that advertisement to make it look like she's just this caring, wonderful
Oh
person.
yeah, absolutely.
And changing the OSAP so kids can afford to go back to school, and she hopes that Mashhood can go back. And I say this, first of all, I have nothing against Muslims. I truly don't.
No.
But why is it taking place there? Why don't you have all races go into a place and say, look, kids, I am changing this for you. I'm
Yeah,
making
go
it better.
into a
Make it-"
school.
Yeah. I mean, this just, it's just grabbing for votes, and
Yeah,
it's just
it
wrong
is.
any way you
It
look at
is.
it. So you're paying for it, and that's what's going on.
We've been paying for it with Wynne and
Oh.
Power anyway.
We're,
So
we're going to get Wayne Gates back on to talk about that too. He's got some good insight. Mr. Trudeau, in case you haven't been following him, and you know he's been doing all kinds of amazing things.
you call that amazing?
Yeah. This past year in foreign aid, because we're so wonderful here in Canada, we're so well equipped to take care of our seniors and the people on the
Oh,
streets. And so we've given away $241 million.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's people here who are starving, who are unemployed, and that money should not be leaving the country. I know, I get it because they, bring back investments to the country and stuff like that, but it's not.
No, it's not. There's no
And
return.
we need to look after ourselves first here.
And that just piles on the debt. Money
Exactly.
we really don't have.
Well, he doesn't care.
No, he couldn't care less.
No.
He's a silver spooner.
Yep.
So, should I go on?
Sure.
20 million of that, get this, 20 million of that went to the Clinton Foundation. Now, why would you send $20 million to the Clinton Foundation?
Yeah.
There's some sketchy stuff going on. I mean, there's some things that happened in Haiti that
Little
wasn't
payoff,
copacetic.
little payoff.
Hillary, yes, she ran for president, but she also erased hard drives, crushed phones when she was subpoenaed to appear in court.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a person who's got some things that are not exactly correct.
We were talking about Hollywood being corrupt.
Yeah.
So is the government.
So there we are. We're handing over $20 million of our hard-earned money, which could have went to healthcare, could have went to education, could have went to paying off some OSAP bills that people couldn't
Could
afford.
have went towards our debt.
Exactly. And it went there, and I'm sorry, but there's no way that money should be going to anybody's
Until we look
foundation.
after ourselves.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't be going to anybody's foundation.
No.
If you want to
No.
go over there and help people directly, then I'm all about that. But
Absolutely.
anyways,
Absolutely.
that's what's going on. The employee deduction thing. Now, I heard, and I'm pretty sure he's done it, he's backed off on that now.
Oh, of course he
Taxing
has.
employee deductions. Get this, though. Here's what you're not hearing, folks, and you're not going to hear this, but it's because they don't want you to know it. It's because people stood up. We got our
Exactly.
heads out of the ostrich hole. We grew back into big, strong beavers. We smacked our tails on the water, and we said, no, we are not going to let you tax that. And you know what? They don't want you to know it, but
Well,
you, the people
it's-
out there, did it.
It's too hard to monitor, for one thing. Like, who's gonna, for instance.
That's what the chips are for.
Yeah, great. Awesome.
So I look at it this way. You do have the power. They don't want you to know it. They're not telling you that. That's why they change their minds.
We
But
have
you
the power
do.
to get them out of office, too.
Exactly, and have the country the way we want it. I talked to Ben Guyot this week.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if you want to, listen, go to CHML, which is 900 CHML
He has
in
a
Hamilton.
great show.
Yeah. He's heard all over the country. The Americans love him. They
Yeah.
love him.
Well,
Okay?
he says it like it is. Right?
Absolutely.
He says what he thinks. He doesn't care what people say. I love that about him.
Yeah, so he talks about Trudeau, he talks about Wynne, he talks about Trump, he talks about everything, and it's no bars hold. I mean, he just lets it go.
Let it go.
That's 9 o'clock, CHML, and it's 900. You can find it. Just look up Ben Guyot, and actually you can listen to it online.
So we've been invited. So when we go, he's probably going to grill us like last time.
Questions?
Yeah.
And you can't be, because he doesn't say, hey guys, this is what I'm going to ask you. It's like, just come on the show.
Yeah.
And then he asks us these questions. It's like,
And you're like, I don't know.
So I believe it's 2 Sundays from now, we'll be on the Guyot show, and then he is going to come back and come on the
Do our
Peet Reet
show?
Yeah. So it's
Awesome.
great. All right, so in Niagara, you guys have got an incredible weekend coming up. It's basically summer. It started Wednesday, right? And it's here on Friday, and it's going right through the weekend. So
You going to the trailer?
I am heading to the lake. Absolutely.
How do I know?
So for all of you, have a great week, have a super weekend, and we'll see you next week on the Friday Wrap with Peet and Reet. God bless. All right.
What do you want to do?
I'm thinking of minestrone soup. You got a can? Let's get
Wisest
over it.
person I ever met in my life. A 3rd grade dropouts. Wisest and dropout in the same sentence is rather oxymoronic. Like jumbo shrimp. Like fun run. Ain't nothing fun about it. Like Microsoft Works. Y'all don't hear me. I used to say like country music, but I've lived in Texas so long, I love country music now. I hunt, I fish, I have cowboy boots and cowboy. Y'all, I'm a black neck redneck. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? No longer oxymoronic for me to say country music. And it's not oxymoronic for me to say 3rd grade and dropout. That 3rd grade dropout, the wisest person I ever met in my life, who taught me to combine knowledge and wisdom to make an impact, was my father. A simple cook. Wisest man I ever met in my life. Just a simple cook. Left school in the 3rd grade to help out on the family farm, but just because he left school doesn't mean his education stopped. Mark Twain once said, I've never allowed my schooling to get in the way of my education. My father taught himself how to read, taught himself how to write, decided in the midst of Jim Crowism, as America was breathing the last gasp of the Civil War, my father decided he was going to stand and be a man. Not a black man, not a brown man, not a white man, but a man. He literally challenged himself to be the best that he could all the days of his life. I have 4 degrees. My brother is a judge. We're not the smartest ones in our family. It's a 3rd grade dropout daddy. A 3rd grade dropout daddy who was quoting Michelangelo, saying to us, boys, I won't have a problem if you aim high and miss, but I'm going to have a real issue if you aim low and hit. A country mother quoting Henry Ford, saying if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. I learned that from a 3rd grade drop. Simple lessons. Lessons like these. Son, you'd rather be an hour early than a minute late. We never knew what time it was at my house because the clocks were always ahead. My mother said for nearly 30 years my father left the house at 3:45 in the morning. One day she asked him, why, Daddy? He said, maybe one of my boys will catch me in the act of excellence. I want to share 2 things with you. Aristotle said, you are what you repeatedly do. Therefore, excellence ought to be a habit, not an act. Don't ever forget that. I know you're tough, but always remember to be kind. Always. Don't ever forget that. Never embarrass mama. Yeah. If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. If daddy ain't happy, don't nobody care. But you know, I'm trying to tell you. Next lesson. Lesson from a cook over there in the galley. Son, make sure your servant's towel is bigger than your ego. Ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. Y'all might have a relative in mind you want to send that to. Let me say it again. Ego is the anesthesia that deadens the pain of stupidity. Pride is the burden of a foolish person. John Wooden coached basketball at UCLA for a living. but his calling was to impact people. And with all those national championships, guess what he was found doing in the middle of the week? Going into the cupboard, grabbing a broom, and sweeping his own gym floor. You want to make an impact? Find your broom. Every day of your life, you find your broom. You grow your influence that way. That way you're attracting people so that you can impact them. Final lesson. Son, if you're going to do a job, do it right. I've always been told how average I can be. Always been criticized about being average. But I want to tell you something. I stand here before you, before all of these people, not listening to those words, but telling myself every single day to shoot for the stars, to be the best that I can be. Good enough isn't good enough if it can be better, and better isn't good enough if it can be best. Let me close with a very personal story that I think will bring all this into focus. Wisdom will come to you in the unlikeliest of sources, a lot of times through failure. When you hit rock bottom, remember this. While you're struggling, rock bottom can also be a great foundation on which to build and on which to grow. I'm not worried that you'll be successful. I'm worried that you won't fail from time to time. The person that gets up off the canvas and keeps growing, that's the person that will continue to grow their influence. Back in the 70s, to help me make this point, let me introduce you to someone. I met the finest woman I'd ever met in my life. Back in my day, we'd have called her a brick house. This woman was the finest woman I'd ever seen in my life. There's just one little problem. Back then, ladies didn't like big old linemen. The blind side hadn't come out yet. They like quarterbacks and running backs. We're at this dance, and I find out her name is Trina Williams from Lompoc, California. And we're all dancing, and we're just excited. And I decide in the middle of dancing with her that I would ask her for her phone number. Trina was the first one. Trina was the only woman in college who gave me her real telephone number. The next day, we walked to Baskin & Robbins ice cream parlor. My friends couldn't believe it. This has been 40 years ago, and my friends still can't believe it. We go on a second date, and a third date, and a fourth date. We drive from Chico to Vallejo so that she could meet my parents. My father meets her. My daddy, my hero, he meets her, pulls me to the side and says, "Is she psycho?" But anyway, we go together for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. By now, Trina's a senior in college. I'm still a freshman, but I'm working some things out. I'm so glad I graduated in 4 terms. Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan. So now it's time to propose. So I talk to her girlfriends, and it's California. It's in the 70s, so it has to be outside. You have to have a candle, and you have to have, some chocolate. Listen, I'm from the hood. I had a bottle of Boone's Farm wine. That's what I had. She said yes. That was the key. I married the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life. Y'all ever been to a wedding, and even before the wedding starts, you hear this? How in the world? And it was coming from my side of the family. We get married, we have a few children, our lives are great. One day, Trina finds a lump in her left breast. Breast cancer. 6 years after that diagnosis, me and my 2 little boys walked up to Mommy's casket. And for 2 years, my heart didn't beat. If it wasn't for my faith in God, I wouldn't be standing here today. If it wasn't for those 2 little boys, there would have been no reason for which to go on. I was completely lost. That was rock bottom. You know what sustained me? The wisdom of a 3rd grade dropout. The wisdom of a simple cook. We're at the casket. I'd never seen my dad cry. But this time I saw my dad cry. That was his daughter. Trina was his daughter, not his daughter-in-law. And I'm right behind my father, about to see her for the last time on this earth. And my father shared 3 words with me that changed my life right there at the casket. It would be the last lesson he would ever teach me. He said, "Son, just stand." You keep standing. You keep standing, no matter how rough the sea, you keep standing. And I'm not talking about just water. You keep standing. No matter what, you don't give up. And as clearly as I'm talking to you today, these were some of her last words to me. She looked me in the eye and she said, "It doesn't matter to me any longer how long I live. What matters to me most is how I live." To ask y'all one question, a question that I was asked all my life by a third grade dropout. How you living? How you living? Every day ask yourself that question, how you living? Here's what a cook would suggest you to live this way. That you would not judge. That you would show up early. That you'd be kind. That you'd make sure that that servant's towel is huge and used. That if you're going to do something, you do it the right way. That cook would tell you this, that it's never wrong to do the right thing. That how you do anything is how you do everything. And in that way, you will grow your influence to make an impact. In that way, you will honor all those who have gone before you, who have invested in you. Look in those unlikeliest places for wisdom. Enhance your life every day by seeking that wisdom and asking yourself every night, how am I living? May God richly bless y'all. Thank you for having me.